Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a highly strategic approach to deconstructing the Microsoft AB-730 AI Business Professional Study Guide. We are zeroing in on one of the absolute most critical and honestly fascinating parts of this exam, Copilot meetings and collaboration. Look, if you want to prove your ability to drive real business outcomes using generative AI, mastering how these tools work together is just non-negotiable. So, let's get focused and break this blueprint down. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the AB-730 certification exam itself, navigate the exam blueprint, look at Copilot for meeting success, check out collaboration with Copilot Pages, understand memory and instructions, and finally, wrap up with some essential study resources.
All right, Section 1, the AB-730 certification exam. Setting the stakes.
700. I really want you to keep that exact number locked in your head. Why? Because according to the official exam scoring documentation, a score of 700 or greater is exactly what you need to pass the AB-730 exam. That's your target. Every single concept we cover today is about securing the points you need to confidently hit or beat that number.
Okay, before we get into the weeds, let's talk ground rules, because this dictates how you should actually be studying. The guide explicitly states that most questions are going to cover general availability or GA features. But, and this is a big but, you can't just ignore what's on the horizon. The exam might also toss in questions on preview features, provided they're commonly used. So your game plan? Prioritize mastering the tools that are fully released and in everyday use, for sure. But definitely keep a sharp eye on those highly visible preview capabilities that everyone in the Microsoft 365 space is already talking about.
Moving on to Section 2, navigating the exam blueprint where collaboration lives.
It's actually really interesting to see how this exam perfectly balances foundational knowledge with practical application. You've got manage prompts and conversations taking the biggest chunk at 35 to 40%. Then understand generative AI fundamentals sits at 25 to 30%. But we are laser focused on that final slice today. Draft and analyze business content, which, make no mistake, accounts for a massive 25 to 30% of your overall score.
So if we double-click into that draft and analyze domain, Microsoft breaks it down even further. You need to know how to draft business documents and how to move data between apps. But take a look at that last bullet point, manage meetings and collaboration. That right there is our collaboration triad. It is exactly where we need to drill down right now to make sure you are totally ready for those scenario-based questions.
All right, Section 3, Copilot for meeting success. Pillar 1.
Okay, put yourself in the test taker's seat for a second. Imagine sitting at your testing station and seeing this exact syllabus objective pop up. Can you describe how to use Microsoft 365 Copilot for meetings? The exam isn't looking for vague textbook definitions here. It wants to know, practically speaking, can you actually apply this tool to drive an efficient business outcome?
To nail that, we've got to look at who Microsoft thinks is taking this test. They expect candidates to already have some experience using AI productivity tools to improve their daily work, and crucially, doing it without writing a single line of code. You've got to be deeply comfortable navigating core apps, especially Microsoft Teams. Come test day, you need to know that you can use prompts to summarize key discussion points, ask Copilot to whip up a pros and cons table from a meeting, or instantly pull out action items for specific team members, all without ever leaving that chat window.
Let's hit Section 4, collaboration with Copilot Pages. Pillar 2.
So here's the next direct challenge straight from the blueprint. Can you describe how to use Copilot Pages for collaboration? Now, if you haven't been keeping up with the latest Microsoft 365 rollouts, this objective might actually catch you off guard. But trust me, it is prominently featured on the exam.
The official guide defines Pages right alongside prompts, agents, and notebooks as a primary element of generative AI. You literally must be familiar with it to drive efficient business outcomes. For the exam, it's all about understanding the workflow. You start by generating some useful content in a biz chat. Then, with just one click, you elevate that response into a Copilot page. Basically, you transform it from solo productivity into this awesome, seamless, multiplayer canvas where your team can jump in, edit, and expand on things in real time.
Moving right along to Section 5, understanding memory and instructions. Pillar 3.
Now, this one is probably the most technical sounding requirement in the collaboration section. Will you be able to describe how Copilot uses memory and instructions? This is really asking you to explain the behavioral mechanics behind the scenes. It's not just about tossing a question at the AI, it's about understanding exactly how Copilot remembers the context of your workflow to actually give you the right answer.
The study guide ties this whole memory and instructions concept to very specific tasks. You absolutely have to understand how context, meaning your active work files, your web data, or the specific app you're in, how that directly affects Copilot's responses. Plus, the exam measures your ability to configure Microsoft 365 Copilot agents. For example, you might get tested on how to configure an agent's instructions so it only pulls answers from a specific SharePoint folder of HR policies. You're essentially ensuring the AI's memory is grounded entirely in your company's own secure internal data.
And finally, Section 6, Essential Study Resources, Getting Hands-On.
Listen, Microsoft strongly recommends getting actual hands-on experience before you even think about sitting for this exam. This table right here is pulled straight from the official guide. You've got self-paced learning paths, massive documentation on generative AI and Copilot, community hubs, and the exam readiness zone for videos. Seriously, if you are ever confused about how to configure an agent's instructions or how to share a Copilot page, these official links are exactly where you need to go to find the definitive answers.
I want to bring this all back to our main goal. A score of 700 or greater is required to pass. Every single feature we just talked about today, from summarizing Teams meetings to co-editing in Pages to configuring an agent's knowledge base, represents tangible points that are going to help you hit that 700. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative question. You know the exam blueprint now. You know exactly what it demands for meetings and collaboration, and you know the score you need. But have you actually put these Copilot tools to the test in your own daily work yet? Look, just reading the syllabus isn't going to cut it. This exam tests real practical experience. So get in there, open up Microsoft 365, start collaborating, and go get that 700. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.